What if I told you that the map to total healing, that compendium of inner balance so deeply desired by the spirit, isn't hidden in complex pharmacopoeias or arcane, restricted access rituals, but rather subtly etched into the very energetic architecture of your being, waiting to be deciphered and activated by the simple intention and the touch of your fingertips? Has the medicine of centuries, obsessed with the symptomatic surface, diminished our perception of the age-old truth, diverting our gaze from the intrinsic power we possess? The answer to your torment isn't found outside, but on an energy highway silenced by the clamor of modern life. Today, my apprentices of inner alchemy, we will cross the threshold where anatomy inexorably merges with metaphysics. We will unveil the profound nature of a point, not merely a physical marker, but a cosmic switch, a master key capable of silencing the chaos and dissonance of the mind, restoring the sovereign rhythm and primordial peace that dwells in the sanctuary of the heart. This revelation, which has endured beneath the veil of Eastern Hermeticism, is not merely an intellectual acquisition of knowledge. It is the inner forging that transforms the perception of chronic suffering and turns it into the inexorable path to the liberation of the imprisoned spirit. Prepare to activate the silent guardian, the ancestral sentinel that safeguards stability and profound calm amidst the most virulent emotional storm. By integrating this wisdom, you will transform fear into fuel for transcendence. Before the mists of oblivion dissipate completely, and the relentless light of this ancient teaching fully manifests in the depths of your spirit, I call upon you to an act of sacred intention, a threefold decree of commitment to the truth. Give your support if you feel the vibratory resonance of this wisdom awakening your essential memory. Subscribe to the call of the hidden realms to continue this initiatory journey and, above all, affirm with your inner voice and record in writing, I seek the truth. So be it, decreed and manifested in your reality. Let us speak, then, of the mystery encoded in a singular depression, known in the ancient Taoist schools as Neiguan, whose literal meaning is the inner passage or the gate of the inner self. In the taxonomy of energy medicine, it is point PC-6, the primary emanation of the pericardium meridian. It is fundamentally incorrect to categorize it merely as a nerve knot. PC-6 is, in subtle truth, the quantum intersection where the flows of the Xin Bao Lo, the heart sheath, the will to be, Zhi, the capacity for emotional manifestation, Shen, and the psychic digestion of the soul converge and intersect. The masters of antiquity, those who read the body as a star map, reverently called it the master key to the 100 diseases. This hyperbolic nomenclature does not imply that PC-6 possesses the capacity to annihilate 100 clinical ailments catalogued by modern science, but rather that its strategic activation unlocks and rectifies the essential flow, qi, to the 3 higher vital centers of consciousness, thus mitigating the root of countless and diverse imbalances that invariably emerge from the disorder, dispersion, or imprisonment of Shen, the spirit that has its imperial abode in the heart. The true mastery of this point lies in the philosophical recognition that disease in its tangible manifestation is almost always the physical and palpable crystallization of an unresolved chronic emotional conflict, a trauma that has petrified in the flesh and the energy flow. PC-6 then emerges as the direct portal, the alchemical solvent that allows the release of this somatic and psychic petrification. This point operates at a cosmological level as a cosmic equilibrium pendulum on the central axis of being, harmonizing the principles of containment, yin, and movement, yang, along the main channels that nourish the trunk. To access this tactile sanctuary and awaken its dormant power, technical precision is required, accompanied by deep and sustained meditative attention, transforming touch into an act of communion. The exact location of the Neiguan is on the inner side of the forearm, a soft and protected area, at a precisely measured distance from the distal transverse crease of the wrist. You must use your own fingers as the golden rule of ancestral measurement, taking 3 kuns, the traditional unit of measurement, equivalent to the combined width of 3 of your fingers held together, index, middle, and ring, and measuring that length toward the elbow, starting invariably from the line of the wrist crease. Once this crucial distance is established, the key is discreetly embedded in the subtle valley and concavity that exists with millimeter precision, precisely between the 2 main and most prominent tendons that become visible when the hand is slightly flexed, the palmaris longus, flexor carpi radialis, and the palmaris longus, palmaris longus. It is vitally important for therapeutic success that the pressure or stimulation, whether by means of the needle, moxibustion, or simply the thumb, be applied to this delicate fibrous space, for it is in this pathway, and not on the thick body of the tendon, that the direct and uninterrupted connection with the pericardium energy channel resides. The sensation upon finding the exact point should not be a sharp, stabbing pain, but rather a deep sensitivity, a subtle but unmistakable discomfort, or, in some cases, a numbness or electrical radiation that spreads slightly towards the palm or in the direction of the elbow, which is the unequivocal indication that the energetic dialogue between your intention and the meridian has been successfully initiated. The significance of PC-6, the magnitude of its restorative power, far exceeds the mere physical regulation of digestive motility or the temporary alleviation of motion sickness. Its primary and highest function is purely metaphysical in nature. It acts as the lost bridge, the silent messenger that establishes and restores the fundamental and essential dialogue between the mind, yi, reflective intention, associated with the spleen, pancreas, and earth, and governing ruminative thought, and the heart, shen, pure spirit, associated with fire and the throne of the inner emperor. In the fragmentation of Western culture, there is a pathological tendency to separate logical reasoning from visceral emotion, an artificial dichotomy that fragments and weakens integrated consciousness. The Neguan, however, with its powerful influence, compels these 2 spheres of inner existence to reunite in a state of perfect and fluid harmony. When the mind becomes obsessed with the future or the past, and thought becomes a labyrinth of cyclical anxiety and worry, the Shen, the light of vital consciousness, is severely disturbed. This disturbance manifests in psychic and physical symptoms such as persistent insomnia, incessant spiritual restlessness, and a physical sensation of chest tightness or anguish. By consciously stimulating PC-6, a vibratory signal is emitted that possesses the intrinsic capacity to calm excessive fire, that blaze ignited by rumination that has spread to the heart, and simultaneously discipline uncontrolled mental attachment, facilitating a fluid, coherent, and profoundly healing interconnection, transforming the tyranny of runaway thought into the calm, sustained presence of the essential self. It is the control point that allows the spirit to regain the helm of the corporeal vessel. To grasp the unfathomable power of this point, we must necessarily address and understand the esoteric nature of the meridian to which it belongs, the pericardium, poetically referred to in ancient texts as the master of the heart. From the perspective of Taoist internal alchemy, the pericardium, also known as the circulation sex or Xin Bao, is not merely a physical membrane that envelops and protects the muscular organ. It is, with profound significance, the imperial guard, or the red eunuch, the highest-ranking spiritual sentinel whose sacred mission is to intercept, absorb, and neutralize emotional shock waves, psychic attacks, and external disturbances of reality before these chaotic forces can directly contaminate the heart, which is the absolute emperor of the body and the immovable abode of the Shen. The pericardium, therefore, constitutes the most sophisticated psychic and energetic defense system of the human organism. If this guardian becomes blocked, congested, or weakened by chronic trauma or incessant stress, its capacity to filter and modulate chaos diminishes catastrophically, and the Emperor is irrevocably exposed to invasion. Conscious stimulation of PC-6 strengthens this subtle armor, releasing the energetic stasis and emotional tension accumulated in the Guardian, allowing it to resume its vigilance with renewed vigor, clarity, and serenity. It is the direct and unobstructed path to ensuring that the poisoned arrows of the outside world never reach the immutable, crystalline core of your inner peace. For this profound and highly specialized reason, its influence manifests so broadly and beneficially in the physical body, acting as an immediate balm for the oppressive sensation of suffocation without a respiratory cause, for the nervous palpitations that arise as echoes of anxiety, the nausea that reflects arrested or repressed emotional digestion, and the vertigo that symbolizes the imbalance between the heavenly and earthly principles within us. Neiguan does not merely alleviate the symptomatic manifestation. Its essential action is to dismantle the deep-seated architecture of panic and dissociation. Now that we have precisely identified its tactile location and understood its crucial role as a spiritual guardian and immaterial bridge to consciousness, the unavoidable question is, how can we integrate this key of fire into our daily practice, not only as a healing tool for obvious ailments, but as the ultimate method for flipping that switch of absolute calm, that off switch for stress before drifting into restorative sleep and accessing the dream realms with clarity of mind and lucid intention? We will now turn to the technique of mindful practice, which transforms this knowledge into tangible power. The technique of mindful practice is not a mere mechanical act of pressure, but an active negotiation with the internal dialectic of wind and stillness. To activate the Neiguan key with the highest intention, it is imperative to transcend superficial application, for the key is not opened by a caress, but by focused determination. You must use the thumb of your opposite hand, applying sustained and directional pressure, not toward the radio ulnar bone, but subtly toward the center of the forearm, as if seeking to push an energetic filament through the fascia to reach the protective membrane of the pericardium. This point, being the master of heart energy, demands a rhythmic attention that is inherently linked to your respiratory system. Breathing should be your metronome, a deep, prolonged inhalation, filling the lower abdomen, accompanies the start of the pressure, and the slow, complete, and conscious exhalation releases the retained toxicity that manifests as encapsulated stress. The ideal duration for stimulating this point is not arbitrary. We are talking about 90-second cycles per wrist, the astrological time needed for the blood pulse and qi to bring about a significant revolution in this vital microcircuit. The complementary visualization should be that of an indigo blue light, which, when pressed, radiates from PC-6 towards the chest, extinguishing the flame of worry and reinstating the silent dominion of the inner emperor. Let us now differentiate the three essential rhythms for this practice, as intention modifies the depth of the effect. The first rhythm is that of acute urgency. Faced with the sudden onslaught of panic, vomiting, or debilitating nausea, the pressure must be firm, almost painful in its intensity, maintained without letting up until the somatic spasm ceases or is reduced by 70%. It is an emergency anchor, a vital circuit breaker. The second rhythm is that of daytime maintenance and preventive balance, a medium pressure applied during the sacred pauses of the day, morning and evening, whose objective is constant equalization, ensuring that the energetic architecture of the pericardium does not collapse under the accumulated weight of toxic external interactions. Here, the pressure must be gentle, meditative, focused on the expansion and silence of the inner space. Finally, The ultimate rhythm is the night preparation, the protocol before entering sleep, and, crucially, before any attempt at lucid dreaming or astral projection. In this transitional state, the pressure on Neguan should be minimal, almost ethereal, but prolonged 3 to 5 minutes per side, with the clear intention of disconnecting the sympathetic nervous system, silencing the internal dialogue, and opening the floodgates to the lucid dream realms. The goal is not only to achieve the physical repair of sleep, but to ascend to a state of expanded consciousness where the physical body is immobilized and the spirit, Shen, can travel without the oppressive anchors of wakefulness. The profound efficacy of Neguan lies in what I call the mirror effect of consciousness, a somatic reflection of the will. By pressing this master point, we are not merely calming a peripheral meridian, we are sending an irrevocable signal to the heart, which is the seat of our identity, our purpose, and our pure consciousness. The pericardium is the Emperor's heart's protective minister and messenger. Its existential function is to absorb the arrows of the emotional and energetic environment before they impact the headquarters of our psyche. When chronic stress, persistent worry, or unresolved trauma overloads the pericardium, it becomes tense and constricted, manifesting as chest tightness, constant anxiety, non-pathological shortness of breath, or the feeling that one's breath is chained. The methodical and conscious activation of PC-6 forces the pericardium to release its accumulated and dissociative tension, allowing the heart to breathe freely on its throne. It is an internal rescue maneuver that re-establishes the essential hierarchy. Chaos must remain outside. Serenity and sovereignty must reign within. Through this deliberate action, the subconscious is instructed that the external threat has been neutralized and that control over the very matrix of being has been recovered and reaffirmed without possibility of negotiation. The true mastery of the Neguan key lies not in its use as a reactive pill for established discomfort, but as a tool of preemptive discipline and high mental strategy. The challenge I present to you is not to wait until vertigo knocks you down or panic paralyzes you before resorting to it. The superior practice is to integrate it into your routine so that it becomes the switch for your personal Wu Wei, the effortless action that maintains immaculate balance in the face of potential disorder. You must anticipate turbulence, activating the point before entering the contentious meeting, before the dreaded confrontation, or upon perceiving the first shadow of doubt that clouds judgment. This disciplined activation of PC-6 not only grants you superficial calm, but structurally strengthens the etheric armor of the pericardium, raising the threshold of your resistance to the emotional din of your environment. It becomes tangible proof that you are absolute masters of your own vibrational frequency, impervious to the low resonance of others, a point of absolute stillness amidst the sensory storm. This is the alchemy of anticipation. We have distilled the operational knowledge of the key to 100 diseases, transcending mere anatomy to embrace its function as the supreme regulator of the Shen and the immaterial anchor of lucidity. Understand that the power of Neguan lies in its overwhelming simplicity and absolute accessibility. It is stillness precisely inserted into the perpetual motion of time. It is the constant reminder that the deepest and most radical peace is only 2 inches from your hand. The ability to open or close this energetic gateway at will is the fundamental distinction between the slave to one's own emotional tides and the conscious architect of one's inner destiny. Now, before we move on to combining forces that amplify this healing effect to its maximum potency, we must ground this truth with deep introspection. The Neguan key protects the heart from internal and external intrusions, ensuring the Emperor's silence. But for the heart, not only to survive in its strength, but also to radiate its healing light and will outward, it must be assisted by other strategic allies on the body's map. How then does the protective function of the pericardium articulate with that of the great connector of the lung, the point that guards the boundary and the quality of the exchange between the self and the air we breathe? The path to total mastery of breath and calm now demands the integration of the triad of breath control. Mastery of the Neiguan, or inner gate, P6, begins with precisely mapping its location, for its power lies not in the concept itself, but in the pinpoint accuracy of its application. You must abandon the vague notion of an area and descend to the subtle topography of the inner forearm. The starting point is non-negotiable, the major transverse crease of the wrist, the threshold of the hand structures. From this lintel, you must measure the descent, not with external rulers, but with the geometry inherent in your own body, which is the only valid unit of measurement in this internal alchemy. The required measurement is 2 kun, according to traditional nomenclature, which for the practice of self-compression translates to the width of 3 adjacent fingers of your own hand, placed immediately above the crease. 3 fingers, the triad of connection, the number that symbolizes the integration of heaven, earth, and man in Taoism, ensuring that the activation of this point resonates not only in your physical body, but in the entirety of your energetic architecture. Once the vertical distance is established, the horizontal location demands even greater sensitivity. Neiguan lies in the deep muscular valley formed between the 2 main tendons that descend from the forearm to the hand. The flexor carpi ulnaris, the more robust and lateral tendon, and the palmaris longus, often less prominent, but equally crucial. It is not a point resting on the hardness of the tendon itself, but rather in the concavity of the central groove, the interstitial space that allows passage of the pericardium meridian. It is in this groove, often called the path of the hidden dragon, that the channel's energy is most superficial and therefore most susceptible to conscious manipulation. Pressure should be applied firmly downward, not laterally, seeking to penetrate the superficial muscular layer and reach the deeper layer, where the protective qi of the pericardium and the shui, blood essence of the heart, are most immediately accessible to external influence. The art is not just finding the mark, but feeling the specific resonance, the silent pulse that confirms you have landed at the epicenter of the gateway. The anatomical justification for this 3-finger width location is as profound as its symbolism. This strategic position on the inner forearm acts as the primary luo, connecting point, of the pericardium meridian. Its proximity to the wrist, the control center for manipulation and interaction with the world, gives it immediate authority over the movement of qi in the upper chest. The pericardium, as we have established, is the minister responsible for blood circulation and the emotional protection of the heart emperor. By activating it here, we exert a direct influence on releasing chest tightness, regulating nausea, which is the manifestation of the stomach's rebellion of qi, upward, and calming anxiety that manifests as a restlessness that floods the chest and chokes the breath. It is the control point for untying the energetic knots formed by accumulated stress that crystallizes as stagnation between the diaphragm and the heart. The challenge of pinpointing the exact location lies in discerning between mere physical tissue and the energetic opening. A simple touch on the muscular valley is insufficient. You must perform an investigative palpation, exploring that portion of skin until a particular sensation of mild tingling, a tiny pulsation, or sometimes a slight numbness radiating into the palm confirms that the mental needle has struck the membrane of the correct point. This radiating sensation is the unmistakable sign that you have mobilized the qi of the channel and that the inner gate has begun to yield. The power of Neiguan lies not only in its ability to calm the spirit, Shen, and resolve the syndromes of phlegm and dampness stagnation that obstruct the mind, but also in its function as a protector against pathogenic wind, understood here not only as external illness, but as the sudden eruption of violent emotion, anger, panic, that seeks to invade the abode of the heart. Understanding the location of P6 is, therefore, the first phase of conscious integration between mind and body map. It is the act of taking ownership of your own internal defense mechanism. Once this location has been imprinted not only on your memory, but also on the precise sensation of your fingers, you will have acquired the master key to silence the clamor of your inner self and protect the peace of your center. However, a key without the strength to turn it remains inert. The inner gate, though vital, is a passive structure that needs a catalyst to unlock its full healing potential and project that calm outward. If Neguan protects the castle, what is the shock agent, the allied and complementary point, whose inclusion transforms the defense into a proactive attack of total healing on the battlefield of your breath and your will? PC-6 is much more than a checkpoint for the unruly flow of the stomach. It is the sacred topography where the pericardium, guardian of the emperor, heart, Shen, exercises its authority over the mental domain. It acts as the faithful emissary carrying the decrees of the throne, instinctive wisdom, the pulse of truth, to the court of the mind, the why, the intention conceptualized in the spleen and stomach. When the mind, imprisoned by incessant rumination, information overload, and over-analysis, becomes independent of the heart rhythm, the pathology of psychic disintegration arises. Neguan is the metaphysical umbilical cord that guarantees the energetic and emotional perfusion between these two vital centers, preventing thought from becoming a parasitic, self-referential entity disconnected from the resonance of being. Its activation is not a mere calm, but a restoration of the internal hierarchical order, where the heart, through its civilized fire, illuminates the intellect without consuming it. Flame, in the context of the Neguan and the heart sphere, is not always palpable mucus, but rather psychic densification, the sediment of unprocessed emotions and crystallized thoughts that stagnate and solidify. This flame, this nebulous veil, obstructs the sensory openings of the heart, the orifices of the Shen, and prevents the clear qi of the chest from rising and nourishing mental clarity. The mind then becomes sluggish, indecisive, or, conversely, hyperactive and erratic, unable to focus the will. By activating PC-6, we are, in effect, draining the inner swamp that has stifled the voice of the spirit. The subtle kinematics of the chest are unlocked, allowing the breath not only to ventilate the lungs and pericardium, but also to anchor the heart in the palpable present. Neguan's deepest function is to compel listening. It forces the mind, which is always projecting itself into the future, anxiety, or trapped in the past, melancholic rumination, to synchronize with the present and non-negotiable heartbeat of the heart. This return to the center is the foundation of all true healing, the basis for dissolving the illusion of separation. The tyranny of the analytical mind, when detached from somatic ethics and the innate wisdom of the heart, produces the disease of fragmentation. Observe your patients. Hysteria, panic attacks, or serious psychosomatic disorders are not primary chemical errors, but the visceral cry of the heart that has lost its command in the face of the invasion of fear, anger, or excessive worry, the most virulent forms of the internal pathogenic wind. Neguan acts as a lightning rod for this emotional turbulence, but also as a transducer. It not only dissipates chaos and protects the Shen, its correct pressure translates the heart's raw despair into a signal legible to the intellect, allowing the integration of emotional truth without the destructive mediation of self-criticism or repression. It is the turning point, the switch that turns off hypervigilance and returns power to the center of the chest, restoring the sovereignty of the spirit over the field of disturbed consciousness. Having grasped the architecture of this metaphysical bridge and the existential danger of abandoning it, the challenge I present to you is not merely to locate this vital point, but to learn to inhabit it with conscious intention. The activation of Neiguan must be a rhythmic dance, not a static coercion. It requires a persistent and sustained force that transcends mere surface pressure and penetrates to the deep layer where the pericardium unites with the ministerial fire. True healing demands that this bridge not only exist as a potential, but be in constant use, that the flow of energy between thinking and feeling be fluid, uninterrupted, and efficient. If the application of PC-6 does not achieve this depth, the calm will be ephemeral, a mere palliative before the storm, and not the foundation of lasting peace. We need a methodology that ensures that mental intention, Ji, and spiritual stability, Shen, merge into a single, powerful act of healing. The inner gate is open, dialogue has been restored. But for the heart to strengthen and project its calm to the surrounding world, we cannot rely solely on passive defense and introspection. We must actively and expansively mobilize the circulatory qi and blood. If Neiguan establishes the internal nexus of stability, what is the external point, the point of opening and movement that ensures the calm generated at the center effectively diffuses to the periphery, integrating into action, manifested will, and relationships with others? What is the opposite pole, the point of impact that, when combined with PC-6, creates the most powerful resonant vibration on the central axis? Amplifying the medicine of the pericardium to the limits of form and action, we must now pivot from the heart, the emperor, to the mechanism that guarantees its inviolability, the pericardium, known in classical tradition as Shinbao Luo, the heart's sheath or the heart master. It is imperative that we transcend the purely anatomical view of the pericardium as a mere serous membrane. For Taoist thought, the pericardium is a court official, a high-ranking general whose sole and sacred duty is to stand between the Shen, the imperial consciousness, and any disturbance, whether climatic, energetic, or, most relevant to modern dynamics, emotional and psychological in origin. The pericardium is, by definition, the great mediator between the energy of the imperial fire of the heart and the ministerial fire of the triple burner. It acts as a sophisticated screening system, ensuring that the purity and stillness of the spirit housed in the center are not defiled by intrusions from the outside world. The quality of our emotional experience, our capacity to love and be loved without self-destruction or harmful attachment, depends directly on the integrity and selective permeability of this silent guardian. If the emperor is distracted by minor battles on the frontier, the kingdom disintegrates, hence the vital necessity of this energetic filter to maintain inner order and clarity. The primary function of the pericardium is not only to contain, but to transmute. When a violent emotion, a sudden outburst of anger, overwhelming panic, or paralyzing pain assails the energy field, the pericardium absorbs the vibrational charge, dissipating the shockwave before it reaches the heart. It is the armor the heart wears to participate in worldly life, allowing interaction without the vulnerability of direct contact with the emotional toxins of the environment. This cushioning process is intimately linked to the concept of Jue Yin, the pericardium channel, the energy level that regulates flow and circulation, which is always paired with Shao Yang, triple burner or Sanjiao, which manages the membranes and external boundaries. It is an essential duality, internal defense and external mediation. The pericardium governs the ministerial fire, the fire that enables social interaction, sexuality, dynamic creativity, and the outward expression of the Shen. But it does so without allowing the excessive heat or paralyzing cold of these interactions to directly impact the imperial fire. A weak pericardium signifies blurred boundaries, an inability to differentiate between one's own feelings and those projected by the environment, leading to sensory overload and fatigue of the heart. When these boundaries are broken, the Shen becomes agitated, manifesting as chronic insomnia, disturbing dreams, or, in extreme cases, states of mania and mental disorder. The art of spiritual self-protection, therefore, is not an act of cowardly isolation, but a conscious strengthening of the pericardium as an inviolable boundary. We do not seek to flee from chaos, but to ensure that chaos confronts the guardian, not the sovereign. The medicine of the pericardium is, intrinsically, the medicine of relationship, the capacity to be in the world without being off the world in a pathological sense. We have seen Neiguan, PC-6, acting as the internal emergency switch that calms the heart when turmoil has already penetrated, acting as an anchor for the psychic tide. But what if we wish the shield to be proactive and impenetrable before the assault? We must strengthen the very energetic structure of the Jueyin. This requires a mobilization that not only calms the mind, Shen, but also activates the defensive Qi along the channel. If the pericardium is stagnant or cold, the individual becomes emotionally closed off, unable to express warmth or receive affection. If it is overheated, they become hypersensitive, reactive, and prone to contact anxiety. Mastery lies in keeping the guardian alert, strong, and with qi circulating freely, allowing the flow of love without the vulnerability of emotional collapse. We have established that the pericardium is key to managing emotional boundaries. By focusing on PC-6, we have addressed the internal aspect, the anchor of the central axis that helps restore balance after a disturbance. However, for the pericardium to fulfill its role as an active guardian, and not just a passive buffer, we need the point that activates its power of external communication and its capacity for resonant shock. This is the point that ensures the pericardium's defensive qi is projected outward, integrating with the triple burner, San Jiao, to establish the self's protective bubble at the most superficial level. The point we seek must be able to move blood and qi along the channel, dissipate deep stagnation, and release the pathological heat accumulated precisely because of chronic relational stress and constant defensiveness. It is the activator of expression without hypersensitivity, the point that allows the inner calm to manifest as a powerful and stable presence on the outside, deterring energetic invasion before it even has a chance to take root in the psyche. The pericardium cannot defend itself alone at the door of the heart. It needs an active and liberating manifestation at the boundary of form. Therefore, if Neiguan is anchored stillness, its complementary point must be expansive movement and release. It is the vibration that unties the emotional knot formed in the armpit, the region where the Jueyin has its maximum concentration of energy, and where the tension accumulated from the exhausting guardian function is released. This point not only moves the blood to nourish the tissues, but also eliminates the fire that has adhered to the pericardium, the toxic heat of failed relationships, wounds, and unresolved resentments that burn away inner peace. It is the hinge that opens the heart to the world without exposing it to danger, the site where the guardian strengthens itself before deploying its defense. It is the point that, when combined with PC-6 in a resonant shock circuit, transforms mere protective tissue into an active spiritual armor, capable of transmuting fear into silent courage and anxiety into constant presence. True peace, then, requires internal anchoring, PC-6, and external release and projection. What is this point of movement and dissipation, this master key that completes the resonant dynamic of the central axis? And how does its nature relate to the release of the ministerial fire that allows us to act with will without being consumed by the process? What happens when the guardian opens the door and projects its force outward? We have reached the threshold, the point of no return, The answer to your intrigue lies in a profound understanding of the dynamics. The armor is completed with the perfect balance between the inner stillness of Neguan, PC-6, and the directed, dissipating projection of CURES, PC-3. PC-3 is the point that opens the armpit, releasing the accumulated ministerial heat, the fire that, if left dormant, consumes the guardian from within. It is the release that prevents stagnation. The synthesis is this dance, anchoring, release, and the active manifestation of the peace that can only be born from a protected and purified heart. The guardian does not merely defend, he transmutes. He transmutes threat into presence and fear into service. We have explored the anatomy of the heart, not as a biological organ, but as the central axis of identity, the sovereign that dictates the rhythm of your existence. We have discovered that the health of the spirit is not the absence of conflict, but the masterful ability to manage internal and external conflict without losing your center. This is the supreme truth. The wisdom you seek is not outside, but woven into the very defense of your soul. Your peace is the armor. Your presence is invincible. Profound knowledge is not a static possession, but a pulse, a constant expansion that demands to be shared. It is the inescapable decree of cosmic law. If this synthesis has resonated deep within your being, if you feel the power of this new understanding burning at your core, the only permissible action is expansion. Subscribe now. Turn on notifications. Not only to continue your own ascension, but to become the guardian, the beacon of wisdom that illuminates others in the darkness. Your service to the cosmos begins with the spread of this light. The labyrinth has more levels, and the ascent continues relentlessly. Now that the armor is complete, we must put it to the test. The next portal opens toward understanding the celestial axis that unites earth and heaven, revealed in our next encounter. The time for mere contemplation is over. Action is the manifestation of truth. Continue the ascent immediately.